All right, y'all. I wanted to do this for a while and I didn't get to do it because of everything that was going on in my life. As you guys have been noticing, there's a lot going on right now. Anyway, so this is my banana bread recipe, okay? Half a cup of butter, 1 cup sugar, 2 eggs, 2 cups flour, 1 teaspoon baking soda, half a teaspoon salt, 4 bananas, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, half a cup of milk, 1 cup of chocolate chips, and a half a cup of walnuts if you choose to add walnuts or raisins or something, okay? Other than that, I also like to sprinkle on at the end just before I pop it in the oven, sweetened shredded coconut. So the first thing I do is preheat the oven to 350. Then I mix everything, the wet stuff first. So I put in there the 2 eggs, the milk, the butter, the vanilla extract, and then usually I'll put the sugar in. And then I'll mix that together first with the baking soda, salt, and cinnamon. Then I'll add in the bananas, crushed, mushed in a bowl. And then I'll sprinkle in the flour a little bit at a time and just mix it in slowly just until it gets a nice consistency, right? And then as soon as all of that is done, then I put in the walnuts and I use a spatula and I just swirl it around in there and mix it in. And then the chocolate chips, swirl it around and mix it in. I grease the pan and then I dump it into the pan, obviously. And then I sprinkle on the shredded coconut. Then I pop it into the oven for 35 minutes at 350, okay? 350, 35 minutes. Once it comes down, the timer comes down to 35 minutes, you then check it, see what it looks like. You look at it, then you turn down the heat to 325, and you put it in for another 45 minutes. Now, it doesn't have to stay in for the whole 45. What I usually do is check it at 25 minutes, okay? So I leave it in for 25 minutes at 325. I pull it out, pause the timer, check it with a toothpick. If it's wet, you know, if there's still stuff on the toothpick when it comes out, it's not like, if it's still doughy, like wet, you know, you need it to put it back in for another 25 minutes. For the last 20 minutes, I mean. If it's like a little bit like not, if it's not like doughy, but it has crumbs and it's a little wet, I'd say 15 minutes, okay? 15 minutes, then you can pull it out. It'll be done. And this is because I absolutely don't know how I know this, y'all. Don't ask me, but I can look at what comes out on the toothpick and I know exactly how long to put it back in. And every single time it is perfect. Every single time. Okay? So take my advice. If it's doughy and wet when you pull out the toothpick after leaving it in for 25 minutes at 325, put it back in for another 20 minutes. If it's crummy and a little bit wet, 15 minutes. Telling you right now, 15 minutes. Okay, that's it. Then you pull it out. Okay, after it's all done, you pull it out. Now, this is my signature thing that makes the kids go crazy and even my husband. Okay, icing sugar. Okay, I put it into a bowl, about a cup of it, 1 cup to a cup and a half, depending on how much you want to use. And you just sprinkle in some cinnamon, okay? You mix it up, make it a little cinnamon icing, okay? I use milk. I just dribble in the milk like a drop at a time, mixing it until it's nice and thick, icing like stuff. And then once the banana bread is out and it's a little cooled off for about 5 minutes, I just drizzle that over top of the top part of the banana bread just for an extra gourmet sprinkle, you know? Just drizzle it on. It'll drizzle and it looks so good and it tastes so good with it because it is cinnamon icing, y'all. And it's just the perfect addition on top of the banana bread, okay? Because you're not putting that much sugar. It's like 1 cup of sugar, okay? 1 cup of sugar in there, so it's not even that sugary to begin with. So the drizzle on top, it's just an added bonus, you know? Just an added bonus with the chocolate chips and the walnuts and whatever else you're going to put in there, okay? For anything you're putting in for like an added flavor, like walnuts or raisins or cranberries or whatever you're going to do only a half a cup because it's going to spread very evenly at a half a cup of whatever you're doing, okay? It's going to spread very evenly because it's not a big mixture in the first place. If you look at the measurements, it's not that big. None of that stuff is that big. And you can see from my mixing bowl that it didn't even I still had like a quarter to the top after putting everything in. So it's not that big of a batter, so you don't need that much. You just need a half a cup of whatever you're adding in, okay? It'll mix in evenly. You put in 1 cup of chocolate chips because you want the chocolate chips to evenly spread around with everything else, you know what I mean? And have like that extra flavor of sweetness and chocolate, okay? The most important part of the whole entire banana bread is getting all of the measurements right for the dry ingredients. Because if you have too much of one thing, it's going to be clumpy or not that great, okay? So that's why I always make sure I have the exact measurements of every single thing. And like I said, when you pull it out after the 25 minutes at 325, when it comes out, when you poke it, if it's still doughy and wet, put it back in for the last 20 minutes, it'll be done. If it comes out and it's just a little crummy and wet, 15 minutes, it'll be done. Just put it back in for that long, okay? Don't do any longer than that because then the top's just going to look like it's burnt and it's not. And yeah, so anyway, so the icing sugar, 1 cup to a cup and a half of icing sugar and sprinkle in some cinnamon. Use a whisk and whisk it around until the cinnamon's blended in there. Then just drop some milk in there once in a while, drop by drop until it's a nice thick consistency that when you pull the whisk up, it comes drizzling down thick, not wet and like dripping, you know, like a wet drip. You want it thick and just like a string, you know, like a drizzle. So that's how I like to do my icing. That's also how I like to do my pancake batter. If you guys remember, I like my pancake batter nice and thick. I also like my banana bread batter nice and thick so it becomes very fluffy. You know, I like my banana bread fluffy. I like it having that moist, fluffy flavor and texture. So literally I did that every single time so far. And this was my favorite thing to do. I love making banana bread. I also love making cookies and muffins and cake and pie. I just like baking. If I'm being honest, I just like baking. Now, I put the recipe on the side over here so you could screenshot that. But write down also how long to preheat the oven, how long to put it into the oven for the first portion of it. Okay, so 350 for 35 minutes. Then you check it. You just look at it. You don't have to pull it out and poke it or anything. Just open up the oven and look at it. Turn the heat down to 325 for 25 minutes. Pull it out. Poke it with a toothpick. If it's doughy and wet, put it back in for 20 minutes. If it's crummy and a little bit wet, 15 minutes. And then it's done. Okay? It'll be done. I'm telling you, it's done. It'll be perfect at that time. Okay? And then if you're going to do some drizzle like I did, do the drizzle. It's a 1 cup of icing sugar to 1 cup and a half, okay? Depending on how much you need for how big of a loaf you're making. I usually just do a cup and a bit. And sprinkle in the cinnamon, whisk with a drop of milk here and there until it's nice and thick. And then once the thing is out and it's completely I leave it for 5 minutes after it comes out of the oven. Then I'll drizzle it on. So I just drizzle like until the top of the banana bread looks like it has a nice drizzle, a thick drizzle, you know. I don't cake it on and I don't rub it in. I don't do any of that. I just drizzle it on and leave it. Because it does harden. It will harden. If you make it a thick icing, it will harden. So it becomes like a candy shell on top. And then when you slice into it, it's just so delicious, y'all. Oh, my banana bread. Everybody loves my banana bread. And I wish I could taste it. I wish I could taste my own bread. But I'm happy to just be able to do this for my family, to be honest. You know what I mean? Like, my family deserves to have really deliciousness. You know what I mean? Deliciousness. And my favorite part is the mixing part anyway. I like getting all the ingredients like this into like little bowls and little containers. And then the mixing part is my favorite part, when I put everything into the bowl and I mix with the whisk. Now, here's a suggestion. Because banana is quite sticky and most of the ingredients you're using is going to be quite sticky, I would rinse the whisk under warm water immediately after you're done putting everything into the bowl. And I only say this because, well, unless you want to like scrub a whisk and accidentally break it. I mean, that's what usually happens to our whisks. We scrub them and then they break. So I've been rinsing the whisk after every time I use it. I rinse it so that it doesn't do that. And so far, so good. So, yeah. Oh, baby. Sorry, y'all. I had to check the bread, the banana bread, and it's still very doughy and wet. So that means that it has to stay in for another 20-25 minutes. So I'll check it again as soon as my timer goes off. And it should be done by then. Absolutely done. And this is how I know how to do this. This is strange. I know it's strange, but it works every single time, okay? Wet and doughy, leave it in for 20-25 minutes. Not wet and doughy, but like crummy and a little bit wet, 15 minutes. And I'm correct because every single time it's perfect as soon as I say, this is the amount of time we're going to leave it in for. And then when we pull it out, it's done and it's perfect. Absolutely every single time. Okay? I am a baking whisperer for some reason. I just know. I don't know how I know. It's like an instinct, a woman instinct, okay? Very, very, very instinctual. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Sorry. Don't mind my English. It is not that great, okay? I never claimed to be an English teacher. I have grammar books for a reason, so that the kids don't have to learn English from me. Oi, 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 oi. Anyways, this is when I did a time-lapse like video, so I sped it up a little bit so that you would be able to see just the end result, because I wanted to speed it up at the end here, because, you know, like, who wants to sit there for 45 minutes looking at someone just put everything into a bowl, you know? So I sped it up for the last little bit of it, and this is my favorite part. For some reason, I really like mashing bananas. Does anyone else like doing that? I like squishing them, especially when they're perfect. Like, I waited the perfect amount. When you can smell the banana through the frickin' what is it called? Skin of the banana, when you can smell it through it, it's perfect. I opened the banana and you could just smell banana throughout the whole house. It's such a strong smell. And it was so squishy. So I really like it when it's squishy like that. And then I put all the wet ingredients in first, like I said. Eggs, milk, butter. Then I did sugar and vanilla. And then I mixed it in. Oh yeah, baking soda, cinnamon, and salt as well. And I mixed it. Then I put the banana in, mixed the banana in, and then I just sprinkled in the flour a bit at a time. Don't do it too fast because it just dries. It dries the middle and then it clumps. Don't do that. Just gradually work it in, okay? That way it gets a nice even consistency and it doesn't get clumpy. You know what I mean? You don't want clumps. You want it to be a nice smooth texture. Oh man, it turned out so good, guys. It turned out so good. Just perfect, okay? I show you what it looks like just before I'm done, and just before I pop it into the oven. I show you what it looks like, the dough and the coconut shavings on top. And I did the sweetened ones because I wanted to have a little bit of a sugary taste on top, okay? So there's the walnuts and the chocolate chips. You just work them in with a spatula, see? See how I just rolled it in there like that? Then you put it in the pan. I like to even it out so it's nice and flat. There we go. Then it's time for the shavings. Oh, I love the shavings. This part's my favorite part too. I like shaving it like this, putting this on. And then there we have it, guys. We have the banana bread all ready to go. Pop it in the oven and there you go. All right, y'all. Here we go. I want you guys to be able to see. So we're gonna put some of the icing sugar in here. Like I said, it's about a cup. Okay, so about a cup and a bit. That should be good. And then I just like that. Okay. Then we mix it in. We want it to be more icing sugar than the cinnamon because cinnamon has a very strong taste, as you know. So, but when you put the milk in and you start mixing it, it should turn a nice light brown, which I'll show you. Okay. Now we're just gonna drizzle in some milk once, like a little bit at a time. just like that. Drop by drop. So it should be like this color when you're done, like a light brown, like this. But you want it drizzly like this. See? See how it drizzles? That's what you want it to be like. So you don't want to add too much milk. You want to keep it nice and drizzly like that. So you just make sure it's nicely mixed in. And when you pull it up, it should be like this. I love that texture. That's a perfect texture. Now, the fun part. I gotta clean that up. Yeah, I made a mess. Sorry, y'all. I made a mess with a whole bunch of milk. Okay. Just make sure I clean up my space here. All right, this is for my fingers because they get quite sticky. All right. Now, I'll show you how I do this. Just drizzle it on. I hope you all enjoyed this video and that you guys write down the recipe and the instructions for it so that you can make your own delicious banana bread, however you decide to make it, and the cinnamon icing that goes along with it. Enjoy and happy cooking, everybody! And there you have it, folks. Drizzled on. Beautiful. Perfect. Perfect. It's the perfect amount. I don't like putting on too much.